We're going to cover specimen collection for transfusion services. So as you know, we've gone live with PPID back in March of this year, which is the electronic capturing of collections. Are you familiar with that?
Well, that's the only process she knows because she's brand new, so she was never here for the previous process.
Okay.
So everything is electronic for her.
So that's good to know. Okay, that's why I saw the light bulb. Okay. So prior to March of this year, we were on a manual collection process for transfusion services. So the process that you know now is the new process that we have. So the new process for transfusion services, we utilize PPID, which is Positive Patient Identification. That's what it stands for. PPID gives a 75% or greater of identifying the patient accurately. So that is why we switched to PPID. It was also part of Dr. Sharma's journey to zero to reduce our WIBITs within transfusion services. So for FY23 or FY22, we were at 34 WIBITs for the year, and for FY23, we just finished in August, and we are at 6. WIBITs for the year. So we went from 34 WIBITs to 6 WIBITs, potential WIBITs. And those, after we investigated them, they were true WIBITs, the 6.
You might need to explain what a WIBIT is.
Okay, so a WIBIT is a wrong blood in tube. So that's when a wrong patient is drawn. Mm-hmm. And once it reaches down to the blood bank department, we can tell, typically we identify it during the testing phase because the patient will have a different blood type than what we have historically on file. So at that point, it prompts an investigation to find out what happened during that collection. So we have to do a root cause analysis. It's a long investigation process for, I'm sure, the managers and educators as well, but for myself and my work partner, Ashley Atchison, and myself, Dorothy Carroll, we are the TSO, Safety Transfusion Officers, that does all the investigations, all WIBIT investigations. So that is part of our job duty. And in that's why we want to provide the education for collection process.
Can I just ask one question? So with the WIBIT, was that only for blood bank that we went from 26 to 6, or is that across the hospital for all labs collected?
That's only blood bank. So
okay.
It's 34 to 6.
34 to 6. Okay.
That doesn't include the core lab, or it's just only us within blood bank department.
Perfect.
So the core lab right now doesn't have PPID, but we have PPID where you have to scan. So explaining what PPID is exactly for Galveston is when you scan the patient's armband, and then you're scanning the labeled specimen. So when you scan the armband and the labeled specimen together, at that time the computer system links it together to let you know that that is the correct patient. So what you would see in real time is when you go to scan the armband, you notice here it's yellow. Mm-hmm. And then again, when you scan the label, it's yellow. It turns green once you scan both, and it knows that is for that patient. So one thing also, you do not want to override any collections. So when you're in here and you're scanning, and say for whatever reason this box pops up, this orange box, that is called the override box. So if you select a selection in here, it will document that you overrid this PPID, meaning that you did not scan the patient's armband or label for whatever reason. The drop down can say scanner unavailable or scanner broken. But however, if you select a reason to override, blood bank department has to reject that specimen once it arrives to the blood bank department. So someone asked me earlier, what if they get into this box by accident? What do you do? The best thing to do is to back out of don't select anything, hit cancel and back out, and start your collection process over again. Because if you select anything, it's going to be rejected from the blood bank department.
Okay, good to know.
Also, when you're going through your collection process, you locate your tests on the work list, you gather your materials, go in the patient's room, you identify the patient appropriately, you scan the patient's armband. And what I mean by the labeled specimen, you want to ensure that the label is placed on the specimen and not that you're pulling it off the label printer and you have it loose in your hand and you're scanning the label. You want to make sure it's placed on the sample because that's the sample that you're sending to the blood bank department. So you want to ensure that label that's placed on the sample aligns with the patient's armband. So that is, so you don't want to bypass that process or take shortcuts by scanning loose labels. It needs to be on the sample. Again, you want to make sure you hit accept, because if you do not hit accept, the collection information will not document in Epic, and the blood bank department will reject the specimen for that. What department do you work on?
Pediatrics.
Is that, what is it, 6A or what?
7A.
7A. Okay, so these are last month's rejection rates for August. These are August rejection rates and the reasons for the rejections. So 7A is not on here, so that means 7A had no rejections for August. There are some other departments on here, but the most common reason for rejections is no PPID. So it can either be in not one of these, you're not scanning, or if it's this, you're using the override button, that would give you a no PPID, and also the missing collection, meaning that you're not hitting this accept button, or you might be hitting that cancel button on accident instead of the accept button because they're pretty close together. So, but outside of that, y'all are doing great on collection process.
Can we go over the purple, the pink
The
tube?
retype?
Yeah.
Yes. So so the retype, whenever there is a patient doesn't have a historical blood type in the blood bank department. So historical blood type means that patient has had a typing screen that was completed and the retype or ABO confirmation. And the ABO confirmation and the retype are the same tests. We just use the names interchangeably. So for Galveston, the correct terminology is ABO confirmation, right? So if the typing screen and the ABO confirmation is completed, if it's completed, that means we have a historical blood type. If the patient has a typing screen and then they did not have an ABO confirmation done at any point, then the patient does not have a historical blood type. So when a patient comes in, and it's not for you to have to memorize all of this, the technologists in blood bank, they look in the computer system and can determine if the patient needs a retype or they don't. It can go either way. And just for a safety precaution, if the patient does not have a retype performed, we cannot issue blood from the blood bank department. It has to be performed, done by emergency release or a massive transfusion protocol. If the patient doesn't have a completed typing screen on file or a completed ABO confirmation on file, then it's automatically a emergency release. So earlier today, I received a question on what, if the patient has been say the typing screen was performed in the ED and now the patient is now on your floor, you need a ABO confirmation completed. Do you have to complete that ABO confirmation even if you know the patient will not receive any blood products? And the answer is yes, we do want to have the ABO confirmation completed so that we can have a complete historical blood type in the patient's file. We don't want to have, half one part but not the other. So we want to complete that blood order, which would be the typing screen and the ABO confirmation. All right, so if the patient needs an ABO confirmation, the blood bank technologist will order it for you in the computer system. When they order it, it will appear on your work list. You don't want to collect it just because you see it on your work list. You want to wait until you get this set.
Okay.
The reason why you want to wait until you get the set with the pink top is because the floors do not have pink tops. So what will happen is if you see the ABO confirmation on your work list, you're going to click it. You're like, oh, that's a lavender top. Let me go collect the ABO confirmation, a lavender top, and send it to the blood bank department. They're going to reject it because it should be, I know, reject. I promise that is not what we want to do for everything, but the ABO confirmation is performed in a pink top. So the technologist will call you to let you know. It would either be you or the clerk in the unit will give, so the technologist will give the unit a call to state that this patient needs a ABO confirmation completed. Then the technologist will order it for you in the system, so you'll see it appear on your work list, but they will send this order request, which will have the patient's name here. This Z is actually a patient's name, and then it will have the MRN here. And you'll see this set here for the ABO confirmation. So the tall tale sign for ABO confirmation is because you'll see this pink label here that lets you know to return the set to the blood bank if you don't need it, and you'll have a pink top in here with the patient for your patient's order request in here. Just because the patient's name is on here, you still must place a label on the sample. You can't send sometimes we get these unlabeled, and it'll have with this paper in here. And when we call and find out why was the sample unlabeled, what we get is because the name was on the paper, but you always have to label the samples itself. So you always want to make sure you have the EPIC label. So you want to follow this whole EPIC collection process. Do your PPID here, and then place your PPID here, and then place your labeled sample in the bag with the order request, and then you send it to the blood bank department.
Okay. Can we send that paper down to them too?
Yes, you can. Yes, it's preferred that you send this paper. If you do not send the paper, it will not be rejected.
Yay! Finally.
It will not be rejected. You just want to make sure that you label the sample properly and you follow the PPID steps. You're okay. But ideally, yes, we do want to have the paper with it.
Can I ask, do y'all have the pinks and the microtainers? Or do y'all just have the 2cc one?
We just have these right now.
Okay. So if we had like a tiny infant, you know, and we had to collect this on a tiny infant, what's the least amount that you can put in that?
No, so
tube?
there are, I do know we do have pinks for the massive transfusion protocol for PDs. So if y'all don't have them on your floor here, I guess that would be the question, if you have it here on your floor.
We don't have the pinks on our floor.
You don't? Oh, not the pink,
No.
but you have the lavender extended tubes.
We have the tiny lavender
the
bullets.
Okay, okay. The question, okay, so we're getting the extended lavender tubes. That's what's coming
No, but the
from
pinks.
Emily. But the pinks, we have none right now.
Okay, so we would have to get 2 cc's for that.
At least 2 cc's to do a type and screen. Or what is it for? I mean, a retype. Right? What do you?
Well, I don't know, because you said that's a 2 cc. And like I know with our purples, our purple type, you have to fill it to a certain spot on there.
Your micro containers or your
No,
the regular purple
yeah.
tops?
And so if we didn't get enough blood, we
Mm-hmm.
would send it in a microtainer.
Let me find out if we have pink. So basically, you want to know for a retype for PDs, if we have in the blood bank, if we have PD pinks that we can send instead of these.
Yeah, like if you had a neonate or an infant for
Okay.
a retype.
I can find out. I can find that out real quick.
Okay.